Today is day 3 of the video journal, and today I'm thinking about the question, which kind of was sparked by last night, of can you teach somebody to love themselves? Can you convince someone that they're adequate, that they're enough? Is that your job? Is it doable? And if it is it something you should try to do? It's a good question, right? In many ways, I feel as if ultimately it is most important what you think of you, not what someone else thinks. Not because that external validation is any less valid or legitimate. It's just because it's external, it has so many caveats. If your view of yourself is determined by their view of you, what if their view changes? Suddenly you've changed and you've been the same person. What if that person stops liking you or like someone else? Suddenly it's a very, you have to navigate these tough situations of who do I actually care about? Do I actually like myself? Those are very hard questions. And this kind of also bridges into something I feel like I've seen throughout my life, is that my close friends, I'd say I'm very selective with the people that are closest to me. And of those people, it is extremely hard for me to see them in pain and suffering, right? Like, I think, obviously, when you're in pain, when you're struggling, that's a place where you can be very vulnerable, and you can create, I think, the deepest of connections when you let down your walls with someone and be like, hey, this is who I am. I'm struggling. Come sit in the mud with me. And you sit in the mud with them and you talk to them about it. Like, those moments are stunning. They're beautiful. And they create a very special bond. So it's one thing to share a moment and be like, hey, I'm struggling, but I'm working through it. I'm going somewhere. But for me, when I hear like, I'm struggling and I'm lost and I need help, I think for so long, and even still now, I can recognize this in myself at moments, I immediately just want to fix the problem. I'm like, here's what's going on. Here's how you can fix it. Am I qualified for that job? Probably not, right? And of course, it's obviously good for me to try to give advice and be like, hey, here are some things you might want to think about. Here's some strategies, or just like sitting there with the person and, patting them on the back, giving them a hug. That can be enough. But the area I find this most difficult is when people don't like themselves. When I really care about my friend and they don't feel the same way. I say, do you think you're beautiful? Do you think you're worthy of love or respect or whatever? And I obviously think yes, and they don't think the same. In those moments, I really struggle to not, it's hard. I'm like, I'll tell them, you're beautiful. You're amazing, inside and out. Like, you're an incredible human being. And they hear me, but it's not the same for them. And they don't register it in the same way. Maybe they'll blow it off as you're just being nice, or you're just being friendly, or you say it to everybody, which I don't, but whatever. And in those moments, it's very hard for me to see them in that state, because I'm just like, I just want to make them feel happy about themselves. I just want to make them love who they are. Obviously, they're not perfect. Neither am I. But does that mean they're not deserving of loving themselves? Of giving themselves that own self-compassion they give to literally everybody else on this planet? Of course not. So can we convince someone to love themselves? I don't know. I can tell that person, I think you're, like, even inside, I think you're a beautiful person. And I can show them how much I care about them. And I can write them poetry. I can sing them songs. But I think I realized, ultimately it has to be them. That I am not going to be able to single-handedly make them love themselves. Even if they get into a relationship. And this one really shocked me. It was like this person, I was like, well, you were in a relationship. Someone really, really cared about you. Didn't you feel like you were lovable then? And even then, they doubted whether they were deserving. It was very, very interesting. So no, I don't think it's your job to make someone love themselves. It's not your responsibility, even a friend. But it doesn't mean you can't try. You can't try to help them see themselves. You cannot single-handedly convince someone that they are beautiful or lovable. I really don't think it's possible. But you can give them a helping hand. You can remind them when things are hard, that they're human, that they've made mistakes, that they can do it again, that they're deserving of a second chance. In moments where they succeed, you can celebrate them. you know? But ultimately it has to be them. And sometimes you have to give them that space, which is, again, hard for me. When I see someone suffering, when I see someone in pain, I just want to help. I want to get it done with, you know? Like, I'd be like, oh my God, I care so much about you and you're in pain. Like, let me just put the Band-Aid on. Let me just find a solution right now. But the majority of the time, there is no right now solution, right? In so many ways, these are lifelong adventures with yourself. You know, the longest relationship you'll have in your life is with yourself. And it's something that changes every single day for, I think, a lot of people. I think for everybody. So no, it's not my job to make this person love themselves, but I can try. I can try. I can try to remind them. I can try to push them to see themselves. But ultimately, it's not my responsibility. Eventually, it'll only be them. Only they can bring the happiness and self-compassion that I want for them. And that's hard. You know, being a friend is hard sometimes. Being a friend for someone you love who's struggling, who doesn't love themselves, can be very challenging. But, yeah, so that's my thought of the day. And give yourself some love. And with that, peace out.